In a world where everyone seems connected, many people still feel lonely, especially introverts who often think they need to become someone else in order to fit in. Today, we're talking about how to connect with people naturally, how to build relationships without losing yourself, and how introverts and non-introverts can socialize in a way that's comfortable and authentic.
My freshman year of college, I used to cry every day about not being able to make friends. Looking back now, I genuinely needed to be humbled that hard because I was socially underdeveloped. Yes, you are perfect and you should not change who you are, but I am so glad that I did. A lot of us don't realize that we're shy, and when you're shy, you seem off-putting to other people. You don't actually have to be born outgoing. You can make that for yourself. Charisma is a skill that you can build and get better and better at. I genuinely used to think that socializing just came more naturally to others. Like, maybe yes it does, but also I was just standing in my own way, because what seems effortless to charismatic people might not actually be. I saw on a podcast once, think of the most popular person you know, realize that they actually just aggressively like other people. The girls in college that I know that have the most friends and the most vibrant social lives violently love on everyone around them. If you're excited to talk to someone, aggressively show them that. If you run into someone after class and you haven't seen them in a while, aggressively tell them how much you miss them and how much you want to hang out with them soon. Being nonchalant is not the way to make friends in college. Just become like a big, positive, happy bubble of love. People are naturally just going to want to be around you. Obviously, there's a lot more social psychology that goes into like being better at communicating, but I've just noticed the more I try to act like a big ball of loving light, the more people want to be friends with me. But also, if you were struggling as much as I was, this is the book I read my sophomore year before I rushed. It really helped me pick up on some social cues. I heard some bad things about this author, but I don't know. So yeah, thank you guys. Bye.
I'm reading this book called Better Small Talk by Patrick King, and I genuinely feel like I can talk to anybody. So I'm going to teach you guys what I've learned from reading this and how you can avoid all awkward silences forever, because we hate those. Talking to people is actually such a skill, and you have to warm up before you do it. It's not something you can just like jump right into, because you're going to be flustered, you're going to be caught off guard, you're probably going to be awkward. But if you practice a little bit beforehand by talking to people throughout the day, if you know you have a party to go to later, talk to the barista, ask them how their day's going, just have a few more sentences than you usually do with the people around you. You'll be way more better equipped to talk to people later on when it actually matters. You'll be warmed up. You're going to feel more ready to ask the right questions because you've tried and tested things from earlier. Now that you're warmed up, we're going to want to get these conversations started, right? With the people that you actually want to talk to. So you're going to use elicitation techniques. These are used in the CIA, like spies use them to get information out of people. The first version of this is just approaching somebody and giving them a compliment to get the conversation started. People love to talk about themselves, so even giving them a compliment on their personality or just being like, you seem really intelligent, obviously in a natural way, they will want to talk about themselves. The next thing you can do is approach somebody with a complaint. You could say, ugh, it's so hot out here, or fill in the blank. You want to be careful with this though, because you don't want to be coming across as a super negative person, but people love when you guys both agree on something that you dislike. It makes them feel safe, they want to open up, they feel like they can trust you. The last version of this is just to approach somebody with a statement that you know they're going to have to correct. If you knew somebody was not a psychology major, but you go up to them and you say, ugh, I bet those psychology classes you've been taking are really hard, they are probably going to correct you. And then elaborate on what it is they are doing. Now, that wasn't a great example, but you kind of get what I mean. I have so much more that I want to say, but I'm going to try not to make this video too long. So let me know if you guys want to see more of these, and I'll be happy to share.
The biggest mistake people make when socializing is trying too hard. People can sense when you're forcing a connection. And instead of focusing on being interesting, focus on being interested, because connection starts with curiosity and not performance.
If you want to become more social, here's how you can do just that based on neuroscience by someone who likes to study neuroscience for fun. Social skills are essentially about brain network efficiency, and there are several regions that are activated when you are trying to socialize with others. The amygdala is going to activate to read emotional cues, the insula is going to help you feel what others feel and be empathetic, the prefrontal cortex is going to decide how to respond, and the anterior cingulate cortex detects social mistakes and conflict. So those are some of the brain regions, and as a result of efficiently being able to communicate among these systems, that's what allows for someone to be socially skilled. And some people may struggle socially because these systems aren't used to working well together. So there may be weak amygdala signaling and you may miss social cues. There may be low insula activation and you may have reduced empathy or emotional awareness. There may be prefrontal cortex regulation that is poor, so it may cause awkward or impulsive responses. And you may have an overactive amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex, which may cause social social anxiety. And essentially, when you're struggling socially, it's a neural processing error, which is a pretty easy fix. Kind of like fixing a computer. So, how to improve social skills. First thing that you can do is improve your social awareness. This is going to be the amygdala and insula area of your brain. Essentially, you want to train your brain to notice more, and you can do this by asking yourself, what is this person feeling right now? Or what are these people feeling right now? Pay attention to the tone of voice, pay attention to the micro-expressions, the energy shifts, the body language, all of that. This is going to strengthen the emotional detection circuits and allow for that improved social awareness. Second thing is you want to improve your response quality. This is going to be more of the prefrontal cortex area of the brain, and you want to train for better decision making in real time when coming up with responses. Before reacting, you want to think, what response creates the best outcome here? And so you want to use perspective shifting by asking yourself questions such as, what would I say to a friend? Or what would allow me to have a positive reaction in this situation? And as a result, this is going to build social intelligence, not just confidence. Third, you want to reduce social anxiety. This is your amygdala regulation, and this is your anterior cingulate cortex area. So your brain may be over detecting a threat, and as a result, you just want to reframe it as, this isn't danger, it's just uncertainty. And there are many things that you can do to reduce social anxiety, but through gradual exposure, your brain is going to lower the threat sensitivity. You can start out with talking to more people in low-stakes situations and slowly build your confidence up. But there are several other things you can do as well. And then lastly is you want to reinforce successful interactions, so that way there's that dopamine hit that you get. So your brain learns from rewards, and when you have a good interaction, replay what went well, notice what worked, and that's going to strengthen the neural pathways for that behavior. So yeah, social skills is mainly about how well your brain predicts, interprets, and responds to social information, and that's always something that you can work on, so hopefully this helps.
This is the key to becoming a social butterfly. I was introverted as a kid. Knowing this really helped me. So the first rule is to view everyone as a soul. Don't view them as external looks or their appearances. Once you start viewing people as like energy and as a soul, you realize how superficial the other things are. Number 2 is to truly realize that no one cares about you. A lot of times when people are getting held back from being out there and connecting with other people is because they think that the world revolves around them and everyone cares about what you do. When in fact, no one is caring about you, no one is judging you, so go ahead and do whatever. And the third rule is to be yourself and be authentic. Some people have a tendency to really just like mesh and kind of mirror the other person's personalities, and so they have like different personalities based on different people. Obviously this might be good to a certain extent, but overdoing this, making it become a habit, is gonna make you fall into the trap of losing yourself, which is the last thing you want. Remember that everything takes practice, so just stay being true to yourself and just enjoy everything. Bye!
You know those people that just seem to be friends with everyone? They have so many good connections. How do they do it? I got you. First things first, you want to genuinely care about every person you meet. Genuinely care about these people and take interest in them. Go out of your way to care about them. But I don't know how many people in the world genuinely think about each individual they interact with and see that as an opportunity to connect. Every single person I cross paths with, I'm like, this is someone I can learn from. This is a connection I can make. Every stranger is a friend waiting to be made. There's always going to be those few odd ones out that want nothing to do with you, nothing, don't want to talk, nothing. I think they would crack eventually, but that's just rejection therapy. Don't let that stop you. Most of our interactions on a day-to-day basis are on autopilot. We feel like robots, okay? If you are approaching, which we all are, the conversations with the cashiers, the Ubers, the nurses, the doctors, whoever you see on a daily basis, coworkers, if you're approaching it with, hi, hello, good morning, how are you, good, how's your day? Basic conversation, small talk, essentially that is meaningless because it's so normalized, it's everywhere, that it means nothing to us. It feels like a formality that we do just because we're supposed to, and so because of that, it's lost all meaning. You have to break the mold a bit and go a bit deeper in your conversations. And it doesn't have to be super deep, it just has to be something off script. That's the point here. You don't want to be like a robot, you want to go off script, and that's how you start forming real connections. For example, I was Black Friday shopping, the cashier's like, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. That's it. It's robotic interaction, nothing is between us. I start just asking like, so is it usually this busy today? Or have you noticed more traffic than the other years? I'm wondering if the culture of Black Friday is disappearing. Whatever, I'm just saying whatever's in my head. And then we start actually talking and she starts sharing her experience, and then I care about that and take interest, and suddenly we have a connection where before that, with the small talk, there was none. Whenever a new person would join my job, I would always text them individually, or this was online, it was a remote job, but if you're in person, of course, talk to them individually if you can, and I would go out of my way to welcome them, be like, I'm so excited you're here, welcome to the team, whatever, and then we would always set up a time to call. So if it was online, we would text, say hello, set up a time to call. If it was in person, I would set up going out for lunch. Oh my gosh, I don't know why people do that. If there's a new coworker, set up going out to lunch with them. Because every time I did this, I don't know if I just had the best coworkers in the world, but every time I did this, we would end up talking for an hour, which on a phone call with someone you're just meeting for the first time and you have no idea who they are, an hour is crazy long. Sometimes it'd go to an hour and a half. And that was the start of a genuine connection. It's simply the act of taking a genuine interest in people, and how you have these conversations, well, I have other videos on that. It really comes down to effort and care. Really, like, put in the effort to get to know people and then genuinely care about them. Remember their birthdays, do these little things, and you are gonna have a million connections, right? When I go to bars, I ask the bartenders their names. Ask people their names. We are so used to going on autopilot and just interacting and going. We're a very go, go, go culture. Take the time to get to know someone's name and get to talk to them as a human. Your goal here is essentially to humanize the interaction. That's the key. That's how those people connect with anyone and have friends everywhere. They humanize their interactions. They talk to people like humans. They care about them. It also doesn't hurt to talk to them like they're your best friend, right? The more comfortable you are with them, the more comfortable they will be with you. How do you actually know what to talk about when you're having a conversation with someone, especially if it's a stranger? Well, the last video on socializing, we talked about taking genuine interest in the person, and that still stands. If you are genuinely interested in a person and you approach the conversation thinking, what can I learn from this person? What can I take away from them? You'll start having some questions pop in your head naturally about them and their experience. If you are trying to go up to a stranger and start a conversation with them, use the environment as inspiration. I once made a rule for myself, was like, whenever a comment popped in my head as I walked by a stranger, if I felt any bit of resistance, I had to go up to them and say that comment. This is high-key social anxiety's nightmare, but I remember one time I was in a store and this woman was looking at baby clothes and it was so cute. It was like Halloween ones. And then I didn't want to say that. I was like, no, I can't go up. And I did it. I forced myself to do it. I went up to her and I was like, those are just so cute. And she starts talking to me about how she makes custom clothes for dolls and all of these stories and everything. Other examples of taking inspiration from the environment. So for example, I went to a public speaking club and I just started asking people like, why did you join the club? How long have you been here? What have you gained from it? How has it changed your life? And I got so many conversations and then connections off of that. The conversations just kind of snowball when you open up with an open-ended question. Just the other day, I was in the grocery store and I saw this short old woman climbing a shelf trying to grab a huge bottle of soda, and I'm pretty tall, so I immediately went over and grabbed it for her, and she was getting a lot of soda, and that day I was just tired. I didn't think to ask questions, but as I walked away, I was like, she seemed like such a sweet lady. She's like, oh, thank you. And then she was with someone else, her sister or friend around the same age, and she's like, okay, I think that'll be good enough for what we have. And that would have been a perfect opportunity because I could sense their vibes, right? They're social women, and I could have been like, what are you guys doing with all that? You know, it's like, oh, you guys have a party? Or, you know, I could have easily made that a conversation. I was kind of kicking myself for being like, oh my gosh, why didn't I take advantage of that? But keep in mind, the goal here isn't to make connections. The goal is to get used to making conversations so that we can make connections, right? We don't want to go from 0 to 100. We want to go step by step. So don't kick yourself too hard. Otherwise, you're never going to do it. Common examples: work. Use that environment. Did you imagine yourself doing this job when you were a kid? I would ask that. Or what led you to this position exactly? Like, what led you here, right? Where do you see yourself going with this company? Where do you see yourself going after? Something like that. I don't know. I like these questions to really get to know a person. I really like the question of like, have you always been doing this, or is this what you always pictured yourself doing? That can go depressing, but then it can kind of turn into a heartfelt conversation. So perhaps the best piece of advice I can give you for knowing what to say in conversations is that what comes out of here comes from up here, or it should. So the more you have up here to pull from, the more will be able to come out of here, right? That's a long way of saying that basically I read a lot of books. I learn a lot. I love to learn. Pick things that you're genuinely passionate about. It can be random history, anything. I'm psychology, philosophy, sociology, love it. A lot of people are politics, that sort of thing, whatever. Read books. Every day with the amount of people I'm talking to, I am constantly referencing something I read in a book. Even if I'm not mentioning the book, I just have this knowledge to pull from. Also, lived experiences, right? Like when I have friends that have experiences, if I've done random side quests or adventures, I can tie in a story or something I learned from that. The more you live, the more you learn, the more you experience, the more you will have to talk about, and it'll come up naturally in your head because it's just right there to pull from, and someone else saying something will trigger that to come out.
You know, Being an introvert is not a weakness. It just means you recharge differently. So you just need to learn that not every conversation will become a friendship. You need to just learn how to keep practicing your social skills consistently, like every single day, and you will get better at it.
I'm realizing more and more that we really do not know how to have conversations with people. When you are talking to somebody for the first time and you're wanting to get to know them, the worst way to approach somebody like me, because I know I'm not the only person that's like this, I know there are many people that are like this. The worst way to approach them is by interviewing them. Where are you from? What's your favorite color? Do you have siblings? You have to understand that when you ask somebody a question in this getting to know process, they then have to reflect, go into their mind, and then answer you. That is expending energy. And when that is done multiple times back to back, somebody can get overwhelmed by that because they're expending a lot of energy by giving of themselves and nothing is being returned because you have not shared anything about yourself. The best way to have a fulfilling conversation with somebody new is for you to give of yourself first before you start rapid firing them with personal questions. There needs to be a balance of energy. If not, people are going to feel overwhelmed and don't want to talk to you. So the best way to do this would be, I would say one of the best ways to do this, because I don't know all the best ways, but one of the best ways you could do this is, let's say you want to know somebody's favorite color. This is just a basic example so you can understand. Share maybe what your favorite color is before you start rapid firing them with, what's your favorite color? Do you have siblings? Where do you live? Where are you from? And it's like you're just asking them all these personal questions and you're not giving them anything. So start with giving of yourself first so that there can be a balance of energy. Do you understand? Also, another thing is asking people surrounding questions about their life is not getting to know them. Okay? I know that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but you need to understand that. Asking somebody about how many siblings they have, if their parents are married or not, all of those questions is not getting to know someone. Those are surrounding things around the person. Can those things influence the person? Absolutely. But those things will come out as you continue to ask the person questions about themselves specifically. Asking somebody how many siblings they have nothing to do. It has nothing to do with them. So what you need to do is, let's say you're wanting to get to know this person. Ask them, where do you like to eat? What's your favorite type of cuisine? And how they might answer that is, I actually like Asian food because my cousin actually introduced me to this dish, da, da, da. And then see, that's how you know they have a cousin. That's how you know they're close to their cousin. You see, you cannot ask people surrounding questions to get to know them. You see what I'm saying? So let's do better in our conversation, folks.
I'm 25 and I learned how to talk to people from my best friend. I have always been very socially awkward, I think. I've just never had a good sense of like how to make conversation with people. Like what's appropriate, chill, engaging conversation. Partially because I'm autistic and partially because I used to have really bad social anxiety. But my best friend is a perfect, beautiful, angelic, engaging, talkative social butterfly. And I have been studying her like it's a science for years. And I have learned so much from her about how to talk to people. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who struggles with this, so I'm going to share how to talk to people in the way that Izzy does. We have notes in the iPad. My top 2 things that I've observed from her, and these are like direct behaviors that I use all the time and they're so valuable. The first one is a great way to bridge the gap with like balancing how much you're talking about yourself versus the other person. She'll make a statement or an observation or describe something or talk about something. And then she will literally just say to someone, what do you think about that? If you're like a socially competent person who's watching this, you're probably like, yeah, duh. But like, to me, I had never considered that. And then I see her do it and it's like, oh my God, yeah. what a simple, open-ended, inviting way to get someone to respond to what you're saying. And I realized, like, when I talk about something or I make an observation or I explain something or say something that happened, I'm just babbling about myself and then I just end it and wait for someone else to, speak. You actually can just be like, turn to someone and be like, what do you think about that? Kind of in a similar vein, she will very often like make an observation or, talk about something that happened to her or something that she thinks. She'll ask, do you see that happening too? Like, she'll make an observation about the men in our city and she'll be like, the men in Seattle suck. Do you feel that way too? Do you observe that too in your relationships? Oh my God. The number one thing I noticed, what I struggle with the most, is finding the balance between talking about yourself and talking about the other person. I have the social anxiety / autism / ADHD, whatever it is, tendency to default to talking about myself because it's what I know and it's like comfortable and regulates my nervous system. And that's my way of like showing people that I'm relating to or understanding what they're talking about. I really struggle to come up with questions for people about themselves on the spot. But when I am with Izzy and we're hanging out with someone else, I realize that a lot of the time she's perfectly comfortable essentially like interviewing them. She will just ask them questions. Another thing kind of on that note is I have always struggled with a level of like appropriateness of conversation with people. I tend to like accidentally end up getting way too personal or like unintentionally trauma dumping because I have this weird thing about like I put all this pressure on it to be like something significant or really interesting. But I realize that nothing is too mundane to talk about. Izzy will just be like, oh, how was your niece's birthday party that she knew they were going to? Does anyone really care how the niece's birthday party was? No. I'm not saying that in a mean way, but it seems very like small and irrelevant, but it turns into a nice conversation. Or like even just like we'll be meeting up with someone and she'll be like, oh my God, I got this coffee this morning and like they made it so bad, like da-da-da. And it's like, to me in my head, I would be like, well, no, don't say that because that's like irrelevant. No one cares. But like, that's not true. There's nothing too small or mundane there's nothing that's not worth talking about, And another thing I've noticed is her comfortableness with like the scale or scope of a conversation. A lot of the time when I'm thinking about what to talk about or what to say to someone, in the height of my anxiety, I feel very limited to what's immediately around us, like talking about the place or the people around us or, what we're wearing or da-da-da-da. Izzy is not limited by that at all. She's very, like, sometimes she'll just be like, launch into something that's like, I feel like people are just so, blah, blah, blah. Like making an observation about, very largely about the world. I don't know. This one's kind of hard to explain. Yeah. If you struggle with talking to people, you should go out with an extrovert and take notes. I hope this helped anyone.
If you've ever felt awkward, shy, or out of place, you are not alone. Socializing isn't about changing who you are. It's about learning how to share who you are, and people will always appreciate authenticity. So take small steps today, start one conversation today, make one connection, and remember, being yourself is always enough. Thank you for watching so much, and I will see you in the next video.